So I was going to make a video on this duel regardless of the outcome, but it makes it even more interesting and exciting that one of my favorite teams, Lehigh, upset the extremely strong Cornell Wrestling team. This rivalry goes back for years and is historic within the EIWA conference. The EIWA team that has won the individual conference tournament a few years in a row now in Lehigh, with the Ivy League powerhouse looking to reclaim their throne in Cornell. Now this season I think Cornell is clearly one of the better tournament teams, but Lehigh showed that they should not be messed with as a dual team and took care of business at home with upsets and dramatics. Before I detail this awesome duel and more, what's going on everyone? My name is Tanner and this is True Tan Wrestling. If you end up liking this video, hit that like button and subscribe button for more content in the future. I primarily make duel and tournament recaps and breaking news stories all within the D1 college wrestling space. If you have your own thoughts and questions on this duel meet, feel free to send me a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. This was an awesome duel to talk about, so let's just crack right on into it. I love this duel meet and always circle it on my calendar for a few reasons. The first reason being it normally determines the EIWA dual champions. And now of course there are teams like Penn who is growing extremely fast and Princeton who is a strong contender to not only battle for the Ivies but also the EIWAs. However, Cornell and Lehigh sort of have a rivalry within their conference, always battling for the EIWA trophy, so there's always a fun duel regardless if one is overly better than the other. I also grew up sort of close to Lehigh, so they will always be a favorite of mine, and Cornell is always a team that I know will give them a great match. Last season, this duel didn't happen since Ivy schools were out for the year unfortunately due to COVID rules, so let's just talk about the 2019-2020 season duel, with Lehigh also winning that matchup. This was the year Lehigh was pretty loaded, and Cornell had a few guys on Olympic red shirts. This duel speaks to how awesome the rivalry is. We had studs like Brandon Patesol at his best weight 125, the sudden victory thriller of undefeated Tucker taking out Farrell of Lehigh, along with matches like Lowe taking on national qualifier Weiler, who later transferred to Wisconsin, and Darmstadt making his way back to 197 to beat a very good Jacobson of Lehigh. All around a very scrappy and entertaining duel, with Lehigh winning 19-14, which was oddly similar to this year's duel score. Fast forward to this year, on paper this duel might not have sounded too interesting, with a top 10 projected team coming into Bethlehem taking on a 20 or so ranked team. But that could not have been any different. This duel came down to the final two matches, and it did not disappoint, with all 10 matches having something interesting to talk about. They started the afternoon off at 157, which is exciting to know that they were going to end the night with Yanni versus Bryant. However, in the long term, Bryant didn't wrestle all weekend, so we unfortunately didn't see that match anyway, but let's talk about 157. At that weight, we saw Humphreys of Lehigh take on the Southern Scuffle 4th place finisher Richard of Cornell. The normal starter up to this point for Cornell was normally Yapoyan, but it seems like after Richard's performance at Scuffle, they're going to give him a few more chances. Unfortunately for him, he faced the powerhouse and leg buzzsaw Humphreys, who won the match 9-2. Humphreys had some questionable performances early in the year, but ever since Florida, he has looked amazing and surpassing some of his best seasons, really getting back to his best stuff. It was cool to see Richard get back in the limelight, and I am curious to see how this roster battle plays out at 157 for Cornell. 165 saw the transitive property national final between Ramirez of Cornell, who beat the returning national champ early in the year, going up against Meyer of Lehigh, who beat the returning national runner-up earlier in the year. This was a very technical match with Meyer pushing at the end, but Ramirez would win the one takedown match 3-2 to tie the duel up 3-3. Ramirez looked pretty good wrestling, a tough wrestler. 174 started a chain of upsets that I don't know if many people besides Lehigh fans would have predicted. Jake Logan of Lehigh would take out young and up-and-comer Chris Foca of Cornell, who I have talked about several times on my channel. Foca placed at CKLV and is ranked in the top 10 by some sites. Logan lost the night before to returning national qualifier Nolan of Binghamton in sudden victory, so the EIWA 174 bracket is going to be loaded, but this was a massive win for Logan and great for his season growth. Foca might have had a down performance this duel, but even though Logan might have had a losing record, he is far from a bad wrestler, and I would argue this is a quality loss. Logan's only losses are to top-tier opponents, and he only lost to former Hawkeye starter Nelson Brands 3-2, and he beat returning round of 16 wrestler Pazuka of Army, so a win like this was on the horizon for Logan, and trust me, it erupted the gym, and the Mountain Hawk fans were up on their feet after this match. 184 saw another huge upset, with Lohr of Cornell taking a loss to AJ Burkhardt of Lehigh. Burkhardt has made his way into the starting lineup after wrestling time at 149 and 157 throughout his career, so it was awesome to see him let his body grow and beat a successful wrestler like Lowe, who's ranked in the top 15 and also beat a returning All-American this season and made the finals of the Southern Scuffle. This match was a thriller, with Burkhardt winning 7-6 with a ton of shot attempts from both guys. Burkhardt might not have had a great record either entering this match, but he is in every match he wrestles, and he'll be a massive landmine in the EIWA, and it seems like he already has with this awesome win over Lowe, who seemed like an All-American threat entering this match. This match victory extended Lehigh's lead 9-3, winning 2 unfavorable matches, so is not looking very good for the Big Red of Cornell after 3 matches. Fortunately for Cornell, 197 Cardenas would come out and slowly chip away Eli Jones, who made his first dual start for Lehigh. He would lose by major decision, and the match was semi-competitive, but Cardenas completely controlled the match and got a weird flurry at the end of the bout to almost get a tech fall. This weight has some weird questions for both teams. I'm wondering where long-term Cornell star Darmstadt has been, who hasn't wrestled all year, not just in duels, he just hasn't wrestled at all. So I hope he is healthy because he is really entertaining to watch and a returning All-American from a few years ago. And I was also curious where JT Brown, the Lehigh starter, was because he didn't wrestle the Binghamton match either. Heavyweight saw Wood of Lehigh win a dominant decision over Fernandez, who placed second at the Southern Scuffle a week ago. Both are very good wrestlers, but Wood showed his veteran talents, and it is awesome seeing him slowly return to his true form and even surpassing it as he gets these high-quality match wins. Fernandez still has a very high ceiling, but it is going to be tough for him to beat some of these top-tier heavyweights, at least for this season. Moving back down to 125 with 4 matches to go in the dual meet, I circled this one because I wanted to see the standout skills between Vito Arujau of Cornell going up against a very leg-riding dominant wrestler in Jared Lane. Arujau clearly showed his skills on his feet, and he still looks very dominant in that position, but Jared Lane really showed that he is going to be tough to get away from this season. Lane strapped on a nice ride and made the second period very competitive, but Arujau was just a little too much for him on his feet, showing that he is still one of the elite wrestlers at this weight. Lane is still a very good wrestler for Lehigh, and I think he looks even better this season, and he held a very dominant opponent to a decision, and if he perfects some of his leg defense just a little bit, then most of the 125 field is going to have a really hard time scoring on him from any position. 133 this weekend saw the return of Malik Hines that really got me excited for Lehigh. The round of 16 EIWA champ picked apart productive La Jolla of Cornell by 10-4 decision. Hines is definitely going to be a frontrunner in the EIWA, even with Ivy League schools returning. La Jolla I think has some shiny moments, but I'm still waiting for his elite win. La Jolla did beat Palmer of Chattanooga at the Southern Scuffle, who wrestled all the way back to take third, so that is a nice win to show that he is a productive member for Cornell. Having Hines back for Lehigh adds some much needed points that they'll need at the EIWA championships, and during this duel of course. Hines' victory over La Jolla would lead into the home stretch of the dual meet, with 141 and 149 capping off the match. At this point in the duel, Lehigh was leading 15-10 over Cornell, and it is also key to note that if Foka and Lowe would have won their matches, then Lehigh's 149 would have probably have to beat the number 1 ranked Yanni Diakomahalis in the final match for Lehigh to beat Cornell. However, Lehigh put themselves in the position with their upset wins to take it out of Cornell's hands at the 149 weight class. 141 saw 2 young wrestlers in Hanlovic of Cornell versus McGonigal of Lehigh, who had a notable Simon Central Michigan win in Florida and was a national qualifier last season. McGonigal did not wrestle the night before against Binghamton, so I thought maybe we'd see Drew Munch in this spot again, but we saw assumed starter McGonigal, and he picked up a gritty 3-2 win over Hanlovic to seal the duel for the Mountain Hawks. Yanni would eventually end up teching Storm at 149, which was cool to see Storm get the nod for Lehigh, even though it was against the number 1 guy in the country, and he had no real answers for him, but his ceiling is still promising based on his other results. And of course, Yanni looks slick and flawless as ever, so he is still looking very nice at his new weight class 149. Last thing to note is that Brian did not wrestle at all this weekend, so I hope his weight and health are all in check because he can be a fun guy to watch. However, with my breakdown out of the way, like I said earlier, this duel never disappoints, and there was always upsets, competitive matches, and a ton of fight between both teams, and this year was no different. These two teams really put it out there, and the fans of Bethlehem came out to see a great duel of their favorite Lehigh team beat a top 10 and EIWA favorite team, Cornell. I love this duel every year, and this might go down as one of my favorites, but this matchup is historic, and I might be a little biased this one since I really like Lehigh, but regardless, this duel was awesome. Well everybody, with all that said, thank you all for watching, and if you really liked this video, hit that like button, and for more content in the future, feel free to hit that subscribe button too. The dual season is among us, so look out for Big Ten matchups on Big Ten Plus and Big Ten Network. I know Iowa is getting a ton of spotlight on Big Ten Network, so I know all you Hawkeye fans will love that. This duel is on Flow, and I know they have duels from time to time, and also ESPN Plus is nice for other Big 12 and some EIWA content. So check those matches out too if you have that streaming service, or however you like to absorb your wrestling content. With all that said, I wish you guys a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.